Heather Cox and our entire crew. Chris Fowler is saying so long. The scoreboard and John Saunders coming up right now.
What a finish for the Spartans. MSU on the road with a huge win over the Buckeyes. We have all the post-game highlights for you coming up and a winter weather advisory in effect. We're tracking it all. We've got everything you need to know coming up on Action News at 7 next. What an incredible Saturday for the Spartans and the Wolverines. MSU with a big road victory at the Horseshoe against the Buckeyes, and Michigan wins on the road also against Penn State. We'll have all the post-game coverage for you coming right up. But before we get to that, we want to turn to the 7 First Alert forecast with our first winter storm of the season hitting us hard right here in Metro Detroit. 7 First Alert meteorologist Hallie Vogel tracking the storm for us in the Weather Center right now. Hallie?
And what a storm it's been, with a huge range in accumulation across the metro area. While some reporting melting snow and barely any on grassy areas, other areas reporting over a foot of snow across the metro area. You can see here it is still snowing, and we do have a little bit of that heavier snow still left, and you can see it. And if you look closely, it's highlighted in a darker blue. So we're looking still at some heavy snow lingering through eastern Livingston County into western Oakland County. The snow has been heavy in snowfall rates of 2 inches an hour through northern Oakland County this afternoon, and some heavy snow still through northern Macomb, moving through St. Clair County. Give it about another hour for this batch to move through, and then the steady heavy snow will start to let up. Snow totals overall between 8 and 14 inches in that heavy band that moved through our western portions of the viewing area. Much lesser amounts have been reported to the east. And again, when the onset came, we had a little bit of rain mixing in through Wayne and Monroe counties. That has since pushed off to the east as temperatures continue to drop. As temperatures fall through the evening and overnight, be aware of some of those slushy, sloppy roads, as they may be freezing for icy patches overnight. That's what we'll be watching. But again, the heaviest snow will be wrapping up in an hour or so. I'll have more snow totals and what we can expect for the remainder of the weekend ahead.
All right, Hallie, thanks. Now to the next big story of the day, the big day of college football. Michigan State and Michigan both with big road victories. You saw them both here on Channel 7. And the exciting finish to the Spartans and Buckeyes. Our 7 Action News sports team is here for all the post-game coverage. Double teaming it on this Saturday doubleheader of action. Brad Galley, Justin Rose. That's as impressive a win for the Spartans, given the circumstances, I think, that you could have.
We're catching our breath, aren't we, Justin?
Yeah. It was exhilarating, to say the least. Michigan State, without Connor Cook, who was a true game-time decision, goes on the road, the number 3 team in the country, and gets easily the best win in Mark D'Antonio's era.
What you're looking at is a team in Ohio State that was ranked number 1 at the beginning of the season, has been in the college football rankings since the last couple of weeks, and a lot of people saying that Ohio State's a team that controls its destiny. So too did Michigan State.
Yes.
Let's show you how it happened.
Crazy game to start. Both teams feeling each other out, but Ezekiel Elliott gets into the end zone to break the scoring drought in the beginning of the second quarter. A 1-yard rushing touchdown, but the Spartans 75 yards methodically down the field, and very few times did they go through the air. Trayvon Pendleton with the catch, reaches for the pylon, stretches it for the score. Connor Cook is elated after this one because the game is now tied.
Yeah, and then J.T. Barrett after the botch punt by LeGarrette Kings, a nice touchdown up top. And at this point, you're looking and saying, is Michigan State shooting itself in the foot? Is this game over? No, not even close, because from there, Jalen Marshall gets the ball into the end zone. It's all of a sudden a tie ball game, and from Justin there, Justin, you put it in the arms and the leg of Michael Geiger.
Michael Geiger missed a 43-yarder earlier in the game. He's from Toledo. And everybody in Toledo who loves Scarlet and Gray hates Michael Geiger right now because he nails it. Windmills all the way down the field. Celebration, jubilance. Mark D'Antonio thrilled after the game, of course.
It doesn't matter how this game gets done for Michigan State. They had no business winning it, but they kept in it, and at the end of the day, they go out of Columbus 17-14 winners.
Mark D'Antonio would say they had no, you say maybe no business having it. Mark D'Antonio and the Spartans have been slowly doing this for a long time now, and they get this one done, and now they truly control their own destiny in the Big Ten East. Penn State at home next weekend, and then the Big Ten title game if they win out.
And Mark D'Antonio did say that Connor Cook, he thinks, will be back next week. But then again, Cook did say on Tuesday, when you reported from East Lansing, that he would play. We shall see.
Interesting.
Michigan on the road in Penn State. How funny was that?
This was great. Good stuff.
Jim Harbaugh doesn't need his headset. He doesn't need his coat, because on the road against Penn State, the Wolverines absolutely dominated in a game that was close early, and then the Wolverines took over. Michigan went down early in the game 3-0, but Jake Rudock was phenomenal in the first half. Took over when the running game just was not there. Jake Butt tumbles into the end zone. Michigan goes up 7-3.
At Penn State, though, senior day, some of these players, the last ones who had a link to Joe Paterno, Christian Hackenberg, Syed Blacknall. That would be Penn State's last lead, though. Michigan's running backs had 10 yards in the first half. Not very good. Rudock under center with a minute left in the second quarter. Amara Darbo does the rest. Get the ball in his hands. Wolverines led at 14-10 at half, Red.
It was 21-10 when Hackenberg goes up top on a play that everybody's talking about. Jabril Peppers, if you watch him here, called for pass interference, but looks like he was almost pushed. Jim Harbaugh really doesn't like the call, but his coach absolutely hates it because it wants nothing to do with Jim.
He's practiced this before. He got the wires out of the way. He threw him to his assistant. The coat's off, and the ref just got an earful.
Antics at 100%. You call me yellow one more time. One more time.
UM's pass defense, they were pretty good. They held Penn State to 2 field goals in the red zone, and in the fourth, Davion Smith seals it. Michigan gets into the end zone, 28-16. Michigan moves to 9-2 on the season. Impressive stuff from their work in Happy Valley today.
Great win for our team, and you know, you feel like a man, really. You know, when you can beat another team at their stadium. You know, when their crowd is so active and alive, and yeah, it makes you feel like a man. And nobody should feel that way more than our offensive line and our defensive line. I thought those two phases really keyed the game today.
Yeah, of course, Michigan rooting in a way for Ohio State to really pull off the game today against Michigan State. In the end, that's not what happened. So Michigan State hosts Ohio State next weekend, and Michigan State goes on the road to Penn State.
Switch it around. Penn State to Michigan State. Michigan hosting Ohio State in what really is a consolation game at this point, Brad. And you don't ever want the game to mean that little this year. But right now, if Michigan State, and they'll know, because that game is at noon, so they'll know if they win the game against Penn State that they will be going to Indianapolis for the Big Ten title game. But there it is. Michigan State moves up. They have the head-to-head with Ohio State now and the head-to-head with Michigan. So if they win out, it is done. 9th
in the college football rankings coming into the weekend, but some teams in front of them slipping up. You know they're going to beat up on each other. And Michigan State rolls and beats Iowa in the Big Ten championship. All of a sudden, they punched their ticket to the college football playoff. You have to think, right?
Jim Delaney in no way, shape, or form would ever allow the Big Ten champion with one loss, who went through the gauntlet late in the season, beating number 3 on the road and then beating a potentially number 4, because you know Iowa's not going to slip. They won today, so why would they fall down in the rankings? They would be in the top 4, probably ahead of Michigan State. So if you theoretically beat 2 teams in the top 4 in 3 games, and a nice 7-4 Penn State team, no way you're not getting in.
We're still catching our breath. After all of that, we'll be back in just a few more minutes to break down what's next for both of these teams. Dave, a crazy wild day, and that's just the half of it of what's going on around town.
Mark D'Antonio can coach a little bit, can he?
Yes, he certainly can. What an effort. What an effort.
Yeah, just a great victory. Spartan Nation, happy tonight, fellas. Thanks so much. We'll turn momentarily back to our other big story today, this official winter storm hitting Metro Detroit, the first of the season. Parts of northern Oakland County, Livingston County getting pummeled, in fact, by snow, snarling traffic on roads and keeping tow truck drivers very, very busy. 7 Action News reporter Jane Park continuing our team coverage. She is live in Howell tonight, where that community got socked pretty good. Jane? We're having some difficulty connecting with our Jane Park, but you can see from these pictures some of the snow, and tow truck drivers, certainly a busy night for them. The roads very, very difficult to pass in many places. And again, some places got more of the snow, as we saw in northern Oakland County and in Livingston County in particular. More snow than some of the areas on the east side of Metro Detroit for sure. But we'll reconnect with Jane Park and get her report coming up in just a few minutes as we're on the air here until 8 o'clock tonight. And our Team 7 coverage continues with Camille Amiri. She'll join us live from Bloomfield. Camille, you've been out on the roads all night long. How are they right now?
Well, Dave, it's been a long day. I've been out since 10 a.m. and it really depends on where you are, how bad the roads are. We're at Telegraph and Square Lake Road. I'm going to show you a little bit right now. You can see traffic is moving smoothly. I think people are really taking it slow. The snow is really wet. not that many cars on the road. And then I'm going to have Jordan pan over here. We've got a challenge right here, a car stuck in the parking lot for hours. The first day of winter is exactly 1 month from today, but you would never know it with all this snow.
I heard it was supposed to snow, but I didn't believe it. And then when I came out of the house, it looked like we're in the middle of winter. So for me, it was surprising.
In Milford Township, drivers taking it slow in near whiteout conditions. But in Novi, less snowfall and busier streets. Justin Janik with JNS Landscaping is busy salting parking lots.
If this was 5 degrees colder, this would be a problem. We'd already have 4 inches by now, probably.
But at the same time, with all this wet snow and warm ground temperatures...
I mean, it makes it a little difficult. It makes it sloppy. It makes it harder to clean up sometimes, but it melts good at this temp right now.
Today's snow not stopping shoppers from getting things checked off their holiday list.
Oh, we're getting some things for Thanksgiving, and we're going to go out west for Christmas, so we're trying to get some things now for that.
And if you think driving in this weather is tricky, meet limo driver Richard Houston.
Well, as long as the snow isn't really on the ground, it's okay, but when it gets real sticky, you got to be careful, The temperature go down, you got to really be slow, But this is winter. We live for it. We're Michiganians. What can I say? We love it.
And I don't know if everybody loves it. This guy you can see shoveling snow. There will be a lot of people shoveling tonight and tomorrow. The snow is definitely accumulating and it's coming down. If you're headed out tonight, take it slow on the roads. For now, we're live in Bluefield Hills. Camille Mary, 7 Action News.
All right, Camille, thank you very much. People who live on snow-covered streets in Detroit are wondering when the snow plows will arrive. We checked in with the city to see how crews are handling snow removal. We're told more than 50 trucks will be on the streets until all major roads are safely passable. Now, keep in mind the city may restrict or prohibit parking so crews can clean the streets. Of course, we'll stay on top of the winter conditions and keep you up to date throughout the evening. The snowstorm is also impacting air travel around the Midwest. Right now, some delays are being reported at Detroit Metro Airport, mostly for flights arriving from Chicago. The weather here is having a minimal effect on departures at this hour. If you are scheduled to fly out of Detroit tonight, you might want to check with your airline ahead of time to make sure that flight is still on schedule. We're also learning about power outages in the metro area. Taking a look at the DTE Energy power outage maps, the majority of the outages are in Farmington and Redford areas. No word on when repairs will be made at this point, but we will keep you updated as we learn more throughout this Saturday evening. Let's turn back now to Hallie, get another look at this winter weather warning that is in effect until later this evening, right, Hallie?
That's right, until 10 o'clock, Dave. Either a winter storm warning for a good part of the area, Wayne and Monroe County under a winter weather advisory until 10 o'clock. So either way, the roads are getting messy out there. Please be careful with temperatures falling into the 20s tonight. You're going to have to watch for some freezing on area roads as well. Looking at the radar, you can at least see the back edge of this system as things are improving around Lansing, the Jackson area. The snow is moving from the southwest to the northeast. We still have a heavier band, though, of snow moving through, and the areas that have been so hard hit with 8 to 14 inches of snow still seeing some of that, and you can see through northern Washtenaw County. I'll highlight it here into northern Oakland County near and north of Pontiac, and this will continue to move off to the north and east for about an hour or so. I'm saying give it to about 8 or 9 o'clock until you really start to see that snow at least taper off. And again, here are the warnings for the majority of the metro area, the winter weather advisory for Wayne and Monroe counties. As far as what you need to know again that the snow, even though some of it melted at the onset, temperatures are now cold enough for that snow to continue to pile up. Icy spots for the morning hours. Watch it if you're traveling late tonight or tomorrow morning. Things do improve through the overnight hours, so good news there. And I'll have more on those snow totals that have been reported across the metro area coming up.
All right, Hallie, thanks. Still ahead, another contract negotiation done for the UAW. How workers voted on the new Ford deal. Next. We'll be right back.
Jetta and other select Volkswagen models.
Ford UAW workers have voted in favor of a new 4-year contract. It passed with 51% of the vote. The new contract raises wages for 53,000 hourly workers and promises $9 billion in investment at Ford's 22 U.S. plants over the 4-year length of the deal. The agreement also promises bonuses of more than 10 grand per worker. Ford's contract was the last of Detroit's big three to win approval. The UAW Executive Board has also finally agreed on a 4-year contract with General Motors. GM production workers approved the deal 2 weeks ago, but it was held up by a no vote from skilled trades. The union says their concerns will be addressed through the grievance process, but the contract will no longer be delayed. Raises take effect on Monday. Still ahead, we'll take a look at one of Detroit's most wanted, who police are hunting for, and how you can help. Coming up.
Yes.
Detroit's Most Wanted here on Action News has helped catch some of the most dangerous people in our area. Tonight we're on the hunt for another, but it's a story unlike any you've heard before. It involves piles of money, a rap music studio, a mysterious Rolls Royce, and lots of drugs. Here's 7 Action News reporter Anne-Marie LaFlame.
The U.S. Marshals say Dwayne Richards is the final piece of a group they've been hunting for years. His cousin, the Kingpin, just locked up in California, leaving Richards in charge of the Detroit-based nationwide drug ring. Money, cars, drugs, and guns, all tied to a drug ring the U.S. Marshals say began right here on our streets.
This ain't your typical drug dealer on the street level. This guy is believed to be the head of an organization that was running the Detroit area.
Dwayne Richards at the top of the list for the U.S. Marshals Detroit Fugitive Apprehension Team. They say he's using the rap game to hide his real business.
Every young kid wants to be an aspiring rapper. This guy produces talent here locally in Detroit. He had his company, Big Homie Records, was his front.
Music videos that still grace the internet. Clues in the hunt for Richards and his accomplices.
Dwayne Richards was stopped by law enforcement. He had around $400,000 in his possession. And when law enforcement questioned him on it, he basically said, "That's not my money, I don't know where it is." And he just signed it off, forfeited the money. I mean, no big deal, $400,000 gone, and that's it. That's what kind of money we're talking about with this guy.
A key piece of evidence, a rented Phantom Rolls Royce.
This Rolls Royce has been everywhere. It's been in California. It's been at, high-end rappers' houses, Snoop Dogg's house, Nate Dogg's funeral. This Rolls Royce just mysteriously pops up everywhere, all over the country. DFAT
Supervisor Aaron Garcia says this is the car tied to Richard's drug ring. Documented here by MTV as Snoop Dogg and his wife arrive at rapper Nate Dogg's funeral in Long Beach, California. Garcia says the Rolls was later spotted next to the Queen Mary ocean liner. He says it was after a bust at Greektown Casino here in Detroit. The luxury car was found in the back of a semi-trailer just across the border in Indiana. The car, worth several $100,000 itself, was found alongside this Mercedes and $4 million worth of cocaine. The drug ring busted again earlier this year, a big victory for law enforcement with the capture of Dwayne Richards' cousin, the suspected kingpin of the organization and fugitive for more than 10 years.
DEA, along with the U.S. Marshals, arrested the main supplier, Mark Jones, in September.
Now they're looking to close the book for good. They say Richards is here in Detroit and certainly well known, bringing serious crime that can be stopped with one phone call from a member of our own community.
Drug dealing is a direct nexus to the violent crime. The drugs on the street is where we get a lot of the shootings, a lot of the murders. When we shut him down, we shut down his organization who's operating here in Detroit. We need this guy in custody.
Take a good look at Dwayne Richards. There is a reward for information leading to his arrest, and you can call the U.S. Marshals 24/7 with any information. That number, 313-234-5656. I'm Anne-Marie LaFlame, 7 Action News.
Members of the community group Detroit 300 gathered today to try to find clues to track down a rapist. This is a sketch of the suspect. Police say he kidnapped a 17-year-old girl from a bus stop, took her to an abandoned house, and then raped her. This happened early last month in the area of 7 Mile and Hawthorne. Detroit 300 meeting in that area this evening, hoping to talk to people who may have seen something. If you know anything about this crime, call Detroit Police or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK UP. You can remain anonymous. A bank robbery suspect is in police custody tonight. Police say the suspect robbed a TCF bank in Roseville this morning and took off with an unknown amount of cash. Officers later found and arrested the suspect in the area of I-94 in Harper. Police are still searching for a suspected weapon If you have any information, call Roseville Police. And take a look at the aftermath of a police chase that spanned through 2 cities. Warren police say an officer tried to stop a driver in the area of 8 Mile in Dresden today. The officer approached the car, but the driver then took off. Pursuit ended at 7 Mile in Dresden and Detroit, where the driver blew through a stop sign and hit an SUV. Fortunately, no one was seriously hurt. Police say the driver who took off did not have a valid license. He's in police custody tonight. And 3 Detroit police officers will be recognized for helping to put a serial rapist behind bars. Sergeant Michael Jackson and officers Ernest Cleaves and James Taylor will receive Medals of Valor from the Detroit Public Safety Foundation. Their efforts led to the arrest and conviction of Michael Sykes, recently sentenced to 121 years in prison for the kidnapping and sexual assaults of 3 women earlier this year. The award ceremony will be held on December 2nd. Downtown Rochester is kicking off the holiday season by lighting up the town. More than 80 Christmas trees are now on display around the city. It's all part of the annual Festival of Trees. The event is open to the public through tomorrow. Admission is $5 per person. Kids under 10 are free. All proceeds benefit the Big Bright Light Show. And the Detroit Zoo also gearing up for the holiday season with a spectacular wild lights display. More than 5 million LED lights are twinkling around the zoo and illuminating the trails. The celebration also includes a special snow slide and winter carousel. Wild Lights runs at the zoo every weekend through the end of the year. Admission is $9 in advance, $11 at the gate. All right, we continue our coverage of the first official winter storm hitting Metro Detroit. Parts of northern Oakland County, Livingston County really getting pummeled by all the white stuff, snarling traffic on roads and certainly keeping tow truck drivers busy. 7 Action News reporter Jane Park continues our team coverage tonight. She is live in Howell. Jane?
We're back, Dave. It's no joke out here. It took us nearly 2 hours to drive to Howell from our station in Southfield, and along the way we encountered whiteout conditions, slushy roads, and plenty of unlucky drivers who got stuck. Now you can imagine what kind of night tow truck drivers in the area have been having. Now they have been going on non-stop calls trying to get stuck drivers unstuck. Lots of calls that the Livingston County Sheriff's Department is also handling. Central Dispatch tells us they've had accidents on just about every highway and major road in the county. Same situation for Michigan State Police troopers out of the Brighton Post. They were all busy today. Now, Ben Marhofer of Pardiac Towing in Howell here is spending all night managing his 5 tow truck drivers. He says it is good business for him when we get this much snow, but he hates to see drivers getting stuck or worse, hurt.
We've been telling people that we're so stacked up. We'll put you in line. We'll call you when we're on our way. If you've already found someone by then or got it taken care of, we're not going to hold it against you. Drive slow. A lot of this is speed related. People trying to get somewhere fast. There's no reason for it. Take your time.
We're driving really slow trying to meet Ben to interview him, but unfortunately we got stuck. Our live truck got stuck in the snow. Luckily, Ben had some helpful tools. He had a big shovel and some kitty litter and helped get us out. Those are 2 items that's probably smart to keep in your trunk this time of year. And of course, the best advice that we've been getting from everyone is if you don't have to go outside, stay home, stay off the roads. We're live in Howell, Jane Park, 7 Action News.
Unfortunately, you don't have that option, Jane, so you be safe as well. Thank you so much. Hallie is tracking our weather totals, the snow totals, and what we're still in store for the rest of the evening. Hallie?
All right, Dave, still adding up, as you can see from James' live shot. It's still coming down, but it will begin to taper off and taper off significantly in the next hour or 2. So good news. We're on the back edge of the system. And as the heavy snow tapers off, as you again heard from Jane, it is that heavy, wet snow. It's not that real light, fluffy snow, so it will stick and it will become slushy. And with temperatures falling tonight down into the 20s, please be careful because icy spots are expected on roads that have not been treated. But if you did get out there and you you enjoyed yourself. Anjana, one of our producers, was nice enough to share this one out of Ferndale, and believe it or not, Braden and his dad on the left never have seen snow, at least the little one hasn't, from Seattle. So they rolled up this giant snowman, used some leftover vegetables, and called it good. But you see a lot of leaves there, unlike those areas to the west like Hamburg Township, where the Blaska family can make many snowmen, with 8.5 inches of snow reported at 4:30. So really, depending on where you are in the metro area, the accumulations vary greatly. Far southeast, only a couple of inches, and then as much as a foot or more back to the west. And we're still dealing with some heavier bands moving through the northwest corner of Oakland County and then moving through Livingston County. I'll zoom in and you can see it shaded in the almost purple color from Whitmore Lake to Highland, then off to the north and east. The entire system is sweeping to the northeast, and you can see some heavier snow also just moving into the northwest corner of St. Clair County. Visibility has improved, but it's still down to about a mile and a half in many locations. It was down to near zero with the heaviest snow that brought 2 inches per hour between about 3 and 5 o'clock this afternoon. So things beginning at least to wind down. Look at these snow totals. Howell over a foot of snow, 14.5 inches reported, over 8.5 in Heartland, and then also White Lake over 8 inches. You can see the list all the way down to a half foot in Ortonville. So northern Oakland County and Livingston County really saw the heaviest band of snow that moved through with that area of low pressure. It's 32 degrees, so right at the freezing mark. Temperatures will be falling back into the 20s. We have a northwest wind at 13 miles per hour, certainly adding that chill in the air. It's 30 right now in Howell, 33 in Mount Clemens, and 32 Port Huron. But when you factor in a wind, and it is out of the north, you have to factor in the wind chills. Feels more like the upper teens to low 20s, and it stays cold during the day tomorrow, even going into Monday before temperatures moderate. So here's the area of low pressure. The track was uncertain for days, and then once it heads a little further south, we're on the cold side of it. The snow just begins, and it just does not let up, and that heavier band just wrapped around it, and that's exactly what happened with that winter storm warning that continues. It continues until 10 o'clock. We'll let you know if the National Weather Service lets up on that a little bit earlier with the advisory for Wayne and Monroe County, and that is exactly where the highest snow totals of 8 to 14 inches have fallen. So here we go, hour by hour forecast. Notice how it wants to exit to the north and east by about 8 or 9 o'clock. The heaviest snow, leftover flurries overnight, and then things look good for the morning tomorrow. Keep in mind, though, still may find some icy patches with the cold temperatures. Down to 25. That is a cold one in the city. Snow tapering to flurries overnight. A high of only 34 tomorrow. It's going to be a very chilly day. If you're heading down for the Lions game, keep it in mind for tailgating. Upper 30s on Monday, 42 on Tuesday, and there it is, Thanksgiving. Slight chance for rain. I think it'll hold off for the parade. Temperatures around 50. With the snow we had today, we do have a new app. It's called Snowcast app, sort of replacing the Storm Shield during this time of the year. And you can find more information at WXYZ.com. And it's a great tool, 48-hour snowfall forecast right down to your neighborhood. $2.99.
Would have been a good thing. Would have been a good thing to have today.
And it will be for the entire winter months. So just remember that.
Yeah, it's a pretty good blast.
Pretty good.
I like the 50s midweek, though.
Yep.
Just saying.
Just saying. A lot of that snow.
But I'm going to be shoveling before then, I'm afraid.
Right.
One well-known Michigander comes home to brighten the holidays for those in need. We'll tell you all about it. That's next. And the Detroit Christmas tree officially lit now and brightening up campus marshes. We'll take a look at the festive lighting after the break.
.com.
One of Michigan's best-known native sons comes home to brighten the holidays for those in need. The Magic Johnson Foundation teaming up with Second Ebenezer Church for the annual Holiday of Hope campaign. 7 Action News reporter Mike Wolfolk tells us hundreds of families are benefiting.
Oh, I've been here 2 hours in this line.
Considering what Phyllis Miner is picking up, it was 2 hours well spent. Despite the cold temperatures and falling snow, volunteers are on a mission.
It's not about the weather, and it's not about how cold it is.
Barbara Little says the only thing that matters is helping others.
There are people who are not going to have anything this year if they wasn't here.
Second Ebenezer Church on Detroit's east side, hosting its annual Hope for the Holidays event, distributing frozen turkeys, other food items, soft drinks, even warm coats, all donated by various sponsors.
The community support has been tremendous, but the community need is very tremendous here in Detroit, as you well know.
Among those in need, Phyllis Miner, who says she is grateful for the blessing.
That's less things I have to do for my daughter. And I'm appreciative because I am on a fixed income.
This is for her grandkids, so hopefully they'll have something to keep warm in and enjoy the snow.
The person recognized for making all of this possible, Michigan State legend and former NBA star Magic Johnson.
We don't want anybody to not have a good Thanksgiving. We don't want anybody in Detroit to not have coats and clothing, proper clothing, especially for the winter.
I thank the Magic Johnson Foundation for just being a blessing, and all of those who donated these things that, you know, we can just give.
When it is all said and done, they will have served 2,000, maybe 3,000 people from the community, making their holidays much brighter. In Detroit, Mike Woolfolk, 7 Action News.
Detroit's holiday tree officially decked out for the season. You saw the magical celebration last night right here on Channel 7. If you head downtown, you'll be able to check out the 60-foot Norway spruce. It's draped in more than 19,000 twinkling LED lights. Of course, there's a lot of holiday fun to take part around the city as well. For more information on the events and a replay of the lighting ceremony, we invite you to head over to WXYZ.com. You'll find it all there. Victory for both MSU and U of M today. We'll have more highlights of the big wins in the Big Ten race. And next, Hallie will be back with another look at our snowstorm, how much we'll get, and is there a warm-up in the forecast. That's next. Continuing our coverage of the winter storm that hit Metro Detroit and is continuing at this hour. Let's get a live look over downtown Detroit. Snow's not only covering the ground, but even our tower cam, as you can see there. We'll send it over now to 7 First Alert meteorologist Hallie Vogel. She's been tracking it all in the Weather Center, and some news on our snow totals today, Hallie.
That's right. Metro Air Report reporting 4.8 inches of snow, which means we have beaten an old record for daily snowfall on this day. And I think many areas could say the same, with about 8 to 14 inches across much of the warning area, and that is areas just to the west of Wayne and Monroe counties. If you're in Wayne and Monroe, you've been under an advisory. Elsewhere, though, a winter storm warning. We're beginning to at least see the back edge of this system, so good news for at least trying to clean things up around Jackson and also into the northwest corner of Livingston County, where snow has been the heaviest. The highest report we've had so far, 14.5 inches reported in Howell. Right now, you can see still some heavy banding around South Lyon, and you can tell from the darker shade of blue there, also around Ypsilanti and then into Macomb and Shelby. This is headed off to the north and east, so we still need to give it about an hour or two until those bands exit to the north and east. But snow totals have been so impressive with that swath or band of heavy snow that really picked up in intensity around 3 o'clock this afternoon and carried us all the way through the evening hours. So we'll continue to watch it. Temperatures have been cold enough to support mainly snow. Our concern initially was kind of going back and forth between the rain and snow. That was short-lived down to the south and east. Many areas kept up that wet snow throughout the day. It's 31 in Ann Arbor. It's 31 also in Pontiac, and right at the freezing mark at Metro and also Monroe. So we're going to keep the warning going and the advisory until we hear something else from the Weather Service if it's dropped earlier with the snow tapering off, but plan on it till 10. Now we're talking, of course, football tomorrow. The good news is let's clean things up, get down to Ford Field. Temperatures in the low 30s tomorrow with just a few flurries, so improving conditions on the way.
All right, Hallie, meantime, the football today, pretty darn exciting. 2 big wins, one for the Spartans, one for the Wolverines. Our team back at it to bring you the big plays, the key plays of both games. Brad Gallick, Justin Rose here with more, and this is exciting stuff.
Ohio State was the lone undefeated team coming into the division in the day. Not anymore. Michigan State's big plays came on defense. Absolutely incredible, keeping the Spartans in it all day, Justin, even when they didn't have Connor Cook.
And when you think about going into this game, all the talk about Ohio State being able to throw it over the top and the back end of Michigan State being its weak link this year, which in fairness it has been, you'd think that Ohio State was going to roll it up. But if you look at what the Spartans were able to do, especially on third down, I mean, they get a little help from Ohio State on this play there, but they were incredibly effective on third down defensively. All these quarterback draws with J.T. Barrett swarmed up. Ohio State's play calling today, almost so conservative to the point where the fans booed at one point Urban Meyer's play calling because nothing, I mean, they throw short of the sticks on 3rd and 8 there.
Michigan State shut down all of Ohio State's playmakers. 9 completions for J.T. Barrett. Braxton Miller, 1 catch for 3 yards. And Ezekiel Elliott, everyone said, that's your Heisman winner right there. Almost invisible today.
Ezekiel Elliott, 44 yards on 15 carries. And this is the key point of the game. I think I turned to you and said, if Michigan State's going to win it, it's going to have to be right here. Because they punted, and the first play you see, almost an interception. They stopped him there, and then on 3rd and 9, they try to get Braxton Miller on the outside. Michigan State gets the ball back, works the clock down, puts themselves into a position, because at that point, the wind was behind them, so they could kick a field goal. And that's what they did. And I mean, 38 minutes and 10 seconds time of possession. Michigan State owned this game. And the key stat of the game.
Right there. I mean, that's the play that's going to stick with it all
That's
night.
the play.
What's the key stat, though?
The key stat, Ohio State's offense, 132 total yards.
Total yards in 4 quarters. It's unbelievable. And then wind it up, East Lansing, get rowdy tonight.
Oh, yes.
Let's look at what Michigan was able to do against Penn State. Jake Rudock's such a key because we talked about it. The running back's only 10 yards in the first half, Justin. When Jake Rudock has emerged like he has, everyone believes Michigan can be better, but I don't think anyone thought they'd be this good.
Well, they told me there would be no math involved with this job, but I added up all the totals of his passing yards of the past 3 games. Jake Rudock's just over 1,000 passing yards in just the 3 contests alone. And if you look back, getting to 150 was a task for him. But he's really developed well, and that's a scary sight when you think about what Jim Harbaugh is going to be able to do with a top-tier recruit coming in through the system, because this is Jake Rudock's only year in the system.
What Michigan did today, impressive. They scoreboard watched and were waiting for Ohio State to lose. It didn't happen. The day belongs to Michigan State as they advance to, what, the final knockout round?
Yes.
You beat Penn State, you're in the Big Ten championship. Looks pretty plausible after you take down the defending national champs.
For Michigan fans, though, there is a sliver of hope for a Rose Bowl, because if you go out and beat Ohio State,
totally happens,
and Iowa loses to Michigan State, that's much more, you know, good-looking pick for those selection committee out there to get a 2-loss team of Michigan.
We have much more with Mark D'Antonio, Jim Harbaugh, and more reaction coming up later in the news. Dave?
All right, fellas, we'll look forward to that. Thank you very much. Other news on this Saturday night, the City of Lights slowly recovering following last week's terror attacks. Police are uncovering new information from the people who helped one of the attackers escape Paris. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez in Paris with the latest developments for us.
Tonight, an accused lookout for the terrorist who carried out last week's attack in Paris is under arrest. Turkish police saying the Belgian man and 2 other suspected members of ISIS were planning to go to Syria before officers found them overnight and took them into custody. Back in Paris, investigators are still working to identify a 3rd suspect killed in this week's raid at the terror cell's suburban hideout. Officials now say that is the person who detonated a suicide vest and not Hasna Eitbul Hassan, who died in the attack after refusing to surrender. Also among the dead in that violent siege, the so-called mastermind of the Paris attack, Abdelhamid Abaoud. Investigators trying to figure out how he managed to cross into France undetected as they reveal that 2 of the bombers who targeted the soccer stadium both passed through Greece on October 3rd, starting from the island of Leros, following the same path as many Syrian refugees. And tonight, new insight about Salah Abdeslam, believed to be the gunman shown in this surveillance video from a Paris cafe and obtained by the DailyMail.com. 2 of his friends, now under arrest, say the 26-year-old is likely hiding near his hometown, Brussels, explaining he called them to ask for help Saturday morning after the attacks. They picked him up in Paris and drove him back to Belgium. One of the friend's attorneys telling ABC News Abdeslam appeared extremely angry during the trip, but stayed very calm during 3 different identity checks by French police. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Paris.
Meantime, the city of Brussels is under lockdown after officials there raised the terror threat status to its highest level. Across the city, subways are shut down, movie theaters are closed, and soccer matches have been canceled. The Belgian government says it has credible and precise information about a Paris-style attack with arms and explosives, possibly involving simultaneous attacks on multiple locations.
It is a serious and imminent threat, otherwise our Center for Analysis of Threats would not have qualified the situation as 4 on a scale of 4.
Belgium is at the center of the investigation into the attacks in Paris. The only surviving attacker comes from Molenbeek, a neighborhood known as a breeding ground for jihadists. Millions of Americans are tackling the challenges of the Thanksgiving travel rush, and with the recent terror attacks overseas, police are beefing up security around the country. Here's ABC's David Curley with a look at what's being done to keep travelers safe.
The Thanksgiving airport rush is underway. More people flying home for the holiday. More than 25 million will take to the air. And in light of the recent terror attacks, many are leery.
People are now in fear of given what's happened. It's a new reality.
You do think, like, you know, do you really want to fly anymore, or is it better to stay home?
The most recent incident, a reported bomb threat on board a Spirit Airlines jet, prompting an immediate return to Fort Lauderdale, where a man was cuffed and taken off. But authorities say passengers misheard a phone conversation. It was all a mistake. Still, since that Russian jetliner was brought down by a bomb, possibly in a soda can like this, there have been concerns about the possibility that that bomb was put on the jet by an insider, an airport worker. Could that happen in the U.S.? The responsibility for screening airport workers is left to airports. But this morning, just 3 of the U.S.'s major airports have decided that workers should be screened just like passengers. That means a 100% check. Every employee has to go through devices like this before they can get into a secure area. 34,000 people work at Miami's airport and are screened before entering secured areas. And you think it works?
I know it works.
Miami's security director says the $3 million it costs each year is a small price.
Our threat is the insider threat, and we know what we have to do to deal with that.
That is 100% screening, which some wonder whether it's time to require at all airports. David Curley, ABC News, Washington.
And still ahead on Action News at 7, we're continuing to track the first big snowstorm of the season. Hallie will have your updated 7 first alert forecast next.
Chevy drives the Motor City.
Snow's been piling up all day, and there's yet more on the way. Take a look at some pictures from around the Metro Detroit area, where some communities have seen up to 10 inches of accumulation. So far, the heavy snow could limit visibility, make driving difficult, so drivers should give themselves plenty of time. Few delays at Metro Airport, so if you plan on flying, check your flight ahead of time. Winter storm warning remains in effect until 10 p.m. tonight. Record snowfall at Metro Airport for this date, which I guess is not unexpected when we're talking about all this snow, Howard.
That's right, but we were also talking about this could possibly be one of the warmest Novembers on record, and then of course we quickly switch gears. They say give it 5 minutes or 5 days or whatever it takes to get to 8 to 14 inches of snow across parts of the metro area, and that's what we're seeing in the warning areas. Of course, much lesser amounts to the south and east, like you saw in Wayne County and Monroe County. It continues to snow, and we're still seeing some heavier bands moving through, and we will over the next hour or two. Watch for any icy spots tonight. We have that slushy, heavy, wet snow, and of course with falling temperatures, any standing water on roadways will likely freeze in some spots, and it's going to be in the 20s tonight and 30s again tomorrow. It's still going to be a very chilly day, but you have to have some fun, I would say. Ava and Lila out of Northville building a snowman, their first one of the season. Thank you for the pictures. We love to share them. And this little guy in Ortonville, of course, putting the flags on there for an American touch. But we're looking at snowfall amounts in a huge range across the area. Some building snowmen and getting rid of all the snow in their yard. Others have plenty to go and plenty to play with in the coming days. Now, temperatures are going to moderate, so we're going to lose a lot of it. So hint, hint, if you want to get out there and enjoy some of it. We're seeing the leftover batch, and wherever you see a shade of blue or purple, and you can see on the laps right now, you can see it following off to the north and east. That's the heaviest snow coming through. We still have some lingering effects from that moving through western Wayne County. So if you're in Livonia and traveling just to the west over the next hour or so. Be aware of that. Visibility does drop pretty quickly, too. And the heaviest bands we saw today, visibility was down to near zero. It's down to about a mile in many locations, improving somewhat off to the north and west as the system continues to move on through. Snow reports, I continue to update them because we continue to get more and more in. Clarkston, you were up to about 8.5 inches. Now the report says 11.5, just over 11.5. 11.5 now in White Lake, so that's up a couple of inches from just a couple hours ago. 10.5 inches in Brighton, Milford, 9 inches of snow, and Metro Airport setting a daily snowfall record for November 21st. 32 degrees out there. We have that northwest wind at 12 miles per hour. That's pulling down the colder air, and that remains in place through about Monday. It's 30 in Howell, 31 degrees in Pontiac, 32 degrees Port Huron. It was touch and go with those temperatures. Once those temperatures are at or slightly above freezing, it's not only a wet, heavy snow, but sometimes a little rain wants to mix in. But we were actually on the colder side of the system where most of it stayed as snow, and of course the heavy snow with the area of low pressure that moved just to our south. Okay, factoring in the winds, feels like 19 degrees in Lansing, feels like 23 at Metro, so low to mid 20s for most areas across the area right now. The wind chill factors. Temperature-wise, that push of colder air behind the center of low pressure, the rain out ahead of it, the cold air wrapping in behind with the winter storm warning, as we mentioned, still continuing until 10 o'clock, and the advisory until 10 as well within that warning area, that 8 to 14 inches of snow. Here we go with our hour-by-hour forecast. This is 10 o'clock. This is a little bit of lake effect, too. Consider that north of I-69 through the Thumb. Elsewhere, the system will be exiting and giving way to at least some drier conditions overnight into tomorrow morning. So big improvement tomorrow with just a few leftover flurries as we go through our Sunday. It's going to be cold tonight. Plan on it. 25 degrees, even colder wind chills, snow tapering to flurries, a few leftover. 34 tomorrow, and temperatures in the upper 30s on Monday. A little windy. The gradual process to temperatures in the upper 40s to low 50s. It's there just in time for Thanksgiving.
On 7.
No Connor Cook, no problem. Michigan State did what it always does, hang tough, make stops, and win. And Justin, for a sampling of how frustrated Ohio State was, the quotes coming out of that locker room, not too positive right now.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott going off on the coaching staff, saying he deserves the ball a little more than 11 times, 11 carries. Him and Cardale Jones both also tweeted out and said that they played their last home game at the Shoe. The sky's not falling. It's just one loss, but there it is. But to the game itself, this was a close one through and through. No score in the first quarter. Ezekiel Elliott, he does get one of his touches, gets into the end zone, gives the Buckeyes their first lead of the game. But Michigan State methodically down the field. 75 yards, capped off by this great play by Trevin Pendleton, the fullback. This guy's going to be remembered for some of the greatest plays, and he's only got like 4 or 5 of them in Michigan State history. Connor Cook, he's not playing, but he's ecstatic about it, and the game is tied.
JT Barrett, after the botch punt by McGarrett Kings, finds Jalen Marshall. The frustration mounting because that was really the only offensive punch in the second half, because from there, Gerald Holmes puts Michigan State in a tied situation. 14-14, Justin, the play that Michigan State fans will recall for years to come.
Michael Geiger, he missed a field goal earlier in the game, and redemption is sweet when you get it done in the clutch. That field goal will go down in history, and so will his celebration. I mean, look at that thing. He's going to have to go get his rotator cuff checked out because Michigan State walked off winner, and for the first time, maybe ever, they beat Michigan and Ohio State without holding a lead in the game until the very end. Crazy stuff.
You know, we've been chased all year long so far in 10 games. In this game, we got to be the chaser. So we could chase this game. And so we could play on emotion. First thing we had to do was win up front on both sides of the ball, and I thought we did that. Second thing we had to do was allow no explosive plays. Obviously, we gave away 2 turnovers, but big turnovers. But we rallied back, and that's just an attitude, you know. We rallied back.
Michigan was hoping for a Michigan State loss. That didn't happen, but the day started on 7 with a U of M win, continuing the team's exciting season. Michigan down 3-0 in the first quarter. Jake Rudock tossing it up to Jake Butt. He took over, did Rudock, in the first half. Had to do it. 182 yards in the first because only 10 rushing yards. Michigan goes up 7-3.
But Penn State, tough place to play in Happy Valley. Christian Hackenberg, Syed Blacknall. That would be Penn State's last score of the last lead that they would have in this one. Michigan's running back, as Brad mentioned, only 10 yards in the first half, but Rudock, he was a gem once again today. It helps when Amara Darboh does what he does when he gets the football. Touchdown. Michigan's led it 14-10 at the break.
Surprising, really, how great Rudock has been and really has gotten better week after week. This call, a little surprising. Jabril Peppers called for pass interference. Jim Harbaugh didn't like it. Neither did his headset, neither did his coach. Justin, would you say he practices this move?
I think he practices this move. You look at him diligently give his wires and his headset so nothing gets broken.
We get one of these every week, and it trends on Twitter like crazy. But that's
players do say they respond positive to it.
Jake Butt said it after the game.
Yeah. U of M's defense, they held Penn State to 2 field goals in the red zone. Very key in this one. And in the fourth quarter, they finally get to punch it in and seal it. Davion Smith, 28-16 your final from Happy Valley.
Great win for our team, and you feel like a man, really. You know, when you can beat another team at their stadium. You know, when their crowd is so active and alive, and it makes you feel like a man. And nobody should feel that way more than our offensive line and our defensive line. I thought those 2 phases really keyed the game today.
All right, so those were great wins, but today, maybe the best news, without a doubt, the best news. Central Michigan head coach John Bonamigo announcing to his team at a meeting this morning he is officially cancer-free 3 months to the day from his last radiation treatment. Unbelievable. We went behind the scenes with him, that video on our website, so our prayers, our thoughts, our happiness goes out to the Bonamigos.
Fire up chips.
Absolutely.
All right, Brad, thanks. Justin, Hallie as well. Exciting day of college football. We got more for you coming up here on 7. We're back after the game. We'll see you then. Good night.